that.
Hi there. I am Adele Leese and the founder of Jinshin Jitsu for Your Animal Companions. And well, I'm just thrilled to introduce you to some fabulous people that have really changed my life. These 6 folks here tonight are the first ever faculty joining Jinshin Jitsu for Your Animal Companions. And personally, I think they're going to change the world for animals and maybe just possibly for the animals' peoples as well. So I wanted to take a moment, introduce you to them all, and let you find out why I'm so excited about them. So I'll let them each speak for themselves and let them feel like you get to visit with them for a few moments. So, Kelly Mount, would you take it away and tell us a little bit about you?
Oh, thank you, Adele. And again, my name is Kelly, and I'm in the Louisville, Kentucky area. And I'm a born horse girl, and I've just been an animal lover my entire life. And you know how we have these meandering paths in life that bring us to our true heart's path. And I remember I have this distinct memory as a child where my aunt had me give one of my pony, his name was Tango, a spotted pinto pony, a shot. And I was terrified to put the needle in his neck and give him a shot. And I cried, and they all laughed. And I just remember having this distinct thought, I wish I could be a veterinarian who didn't use needles. And so we go through life as we do. And I took my first Jinshin Jitsu class in 2005. And I've been a practitioner of the art of Jinshin Jitsu since 2007. And I took my very first animal class with Adele in Columbus, Ohio, back in 2008. And the rest is history. It's just been this magical journey of learning about how to use the art of Jinshin Jitsu on myself and with my friends and family and clients and animal companions. And when Adele mentioned a year ago that she was going to make the opportunity available for other people to teach the art for animals, I was just so thrilled and so excited to participate on this journey with her and bring the art of Jinshin Jitsu to more animals and more humans. And I grew up, my journey, I grew up showing horses and competing in 4-H. And it was such a magical childhood journey for me that I love that this opens the door for the opportunity and possibility for me to share Jinshin Jitsu with kids and in 4-H programs. And I'm just looking forward to teaching the art and looking forward to being back in person with people again when it's possible. So Adele, I just want to thank you. You know, our animals, our creatures are our greatest teachers. And they're these magic mirrors for ourselves in our own life journey. And I'm just so excited to be able to share in this with you and with all my friends, Jennifer and John and Jude and Amy and Tate. And I'm just really excited for the future and what's to come. So thank you.
Well, I think that we're next.
Hello, everybody. I'm Tate.
And I'm Amy.
And we're happy to be here with you all.
Yeah, it's such an honor. Thank you so much, Adele, for getting us going on this journey.
We're coming to you live from our practice space here in Eugene, Oregon, where we receive people clients. Unfortunately, our pet clients are all house calls at this point. So Jinshin Jitsu kind of found me wandering about the mountains of Guatemala as I was doing volunteer work with the Peace Corps in the the early 2000s, 2001 to be exact. Found me in the form of a book that was gifted by a fellow traveler, the book The Touch of Healing by Alice Burmeister. It was a cool book. I was intrigued, and I kept that book with me. And years later, when Amy and I met in the mountains of Colorado, both as snowboard instructors, we got the opportunity to bring that book back to the surface, and really start to pick it apart and see what kind of gems were in there. Over the years, as tends to be the case, Amy was a bit of the forerunner in this journey. I brought her the book, and she took it and ran. After years of really hard physical labor, Amy really started to realize that we weren't on a sustainable path, and she became really interested in what Jin Shin Jyutsu had to offer.
So I went to my first 5-day class, and when I came home, I sat down with Tate on the couch and I said, well, I'm getting on this bus, and I'd really like it if you got on the bus with me. And at first, he was interested in taking classes, but he definitely was a little skeptical about being a practitioner. And I don't even think at that point being instructors crossed into the conversation. But regardless, a handful of years later, we became practitioners, and we stumbled across Adele's message through one of our 5-day seminars. And as soon as we heard that there was such a thing as Jin Shin Jyutsu for animal companions, oh, yes, sign me up. I'm all about it.
Animals have been a big part of both of our lives, growing up with dogs and cats in the house, and myself, goats in the backyard, and to the present, where we are actually living at a small dog rescue in Eugene, Oregon, sitting on the board of a farm animal sanctuary. Also, animals continue to be a really big part of our life, and for both of us, I think art as well. I was a studio art major in school, and Amy is a writer, among other arts. And when we discovered, or when Jin Shin Jyutsu found us, it just made so much sense to really bring that other art form into our lives, which is one of the things I really love about Jin Shin Jyutsu, is the profound simplicity of it.
It's an innate intelligence, and like Mary says, if we can breathe, then we can harmonize. And for us, that makes has such a huge impact on how we embody this art and how we share this art, not just with our people clients, but with our animal clients as well. You know, being able to see the transformations that happen with our people. They verbally tell us about the things that are happening, that are changing, shifting for them as they come into balance. And with our animal clients, it's obvious. It's a beautiful thing.
Jin Shin Jyutsu gives us the space, the tools, and the grace to create our own reality. And I think that's so empowering, and one of the things that really draws me to the art, and that makes me want to share it with the world.
Tate is fluent in Spanish, and so one of our big missions is to move forward with opening up this art to the Spanish-speaking community a little more. There is a Jin Shin Jyutsu human practice that's pretty prevalent, but at this point, the animal side of that conversation has been just waiting in the wings, ready to come in and meet the rest of the crew.
Yeah, so we're really looking forward to connecting with folks, whether it be via Zoom, connecting with folks from all over the world, or better yet, in-person classes. We're very excited to see the world and bring Jinshin Jitsu with us in our wake.
I think that's about it for us. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah,
we
thank you,
appreciate
guys.
you all.
Thanks, Amy and Tate. I think we're up next. Can you hear us now? All right, for some reason, I'm not coming on my own screen. All right. Hang on. There we are. I'm Jude, and this is John Burns.
Hi, everyone.
And we're coming to you from Studio 1A here in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, where we teach Jinshin Jitsu via Zoom from this very desk. Such is the life of Jinshin Jitsu and lots of other things in 2020. Speaking of 20, I came across Jinshin Jitsu about 20 years ago, a little more than 20 years ago, in the human art form. And at the time, I was a very type A Navy officer. And my friend who introduced it to me basically elbowed her way into my life and came over on Saturday mornings, and we traded, and I learned, and I started taking classes, and I got hooked. And it probably saved my stressful life and rounded some sharp edges, perhaps, and brought a joy that I didn't realize existed in my life. So I, at the time, had a bunch of dogs and an occasional cat, and would apply Jinshin Jitsu when I felt like it, but it didn't, they'd walk away. I had a booming practice in Hawaii where I was living at the time for humans, and they loved the human work. They would come in to my practice treatment room and soak it up. And then I moved to the mainland and met John, and he fell in love with Jinshin Jitsu and was really clamoring to do the animal work. So we met Adele in 2015, and that's when I learned the key. The key is we as practitioners and animal owners and caretakers need to be grounded and centered. So all those years of my human practice, my self-help on myself, my teaching self-help to humans, it didn't dawn on me. I didn't make that connection that I needed to eat my own dog food and really practice it before approaching and fixing and having that mentality. So thank you, Adele, for opening that door. And we've had an opportunity over these past several years as animal practitioners of sharing the art around the Low Country here in Charleston, South Carolina. And we intend to do so not only here, but in other places where we travel as well. We have relatives and friends around who would love to have us come, and really our love is sanctuaries and rescue organizations. So we can't wait to turn on as many people to this wonderful art as we possibly can.
So I first encountered Jinshin Jitsu shortly after meeting Jude, and it was probably around 2013. And Jude had a table in the house. Of course, I thought it was massage, and not knowing what Jinshin Jitsu is, but I got to experience it firsthand. I was first a recipient, and at the time was struggling with a chronic hip disorder that eventually required surgery and having both of my hips replaced at the age of 49. But just prior to my surgical procedure, I attended my first 5-day class in Jinshin Jitsu. I'd had enough of a great experience on the table that there was something to this art, and I couldn't. It was experiential, and I took that 5-day class and scheduled my procedure for the Monday I returned to Charleston, and Jed Schwartz was that instructor. I'll never forget my time with my 5 days with Jed, and it was. I'm not going to say miraculous, but it was transformative. He opened my eyes to this world of this art, and I went into surgery confident and comfortable. Jude, of course, giving me doing sessions with me immediately pre-surgery and post-operatively. My recovery was practically, close to miraculous. Up and walking on both a double hip replacement in 2 weeks, literally back at work and in my car, what was told would be an 8-week recovery. I give all the credit to Jinshin Jitsu and the hands of my surgeon, but it opened my eyes, and I was all in, and continued to take 5-day classes, and then encountered Adele's work, that this work could be done with animals. And Jude and I took that first class together up in Asheville, North Carolina, our first animal class. And the first animal that I got my hands on was a 3-legged dog, Chip. And I just immediately gravitated to Chip. And he was a great recipient of Jinshin Jitsu. But over the following years, I've always gravitated towards the animals that are the hardship cases, the ones that aren't getting adopted in shelters, that have something going on, a project that needs attention and compassion. And I've witnessed that's what happens when you're the witness in Jinshin Jitsu. You get to be a part of something that's bigger than you. The utter simplicity of this art, and that anybody can apply it, is incredibly attractive. But watching the transformation of these animals in these shelters, seeing unadopted animals like Ray Charles at Halley Hill Sanctuary in South Carolina, who had been there for quite some time, blind, and then eventually, and after working with him for several months, the change in this dog, and then Subaru picking him as one of their underdogs 2 years ago, and his adoption. I mean, it's just story after story like that is what attracts me to this work. And we thoroughly enjoy working with our shelter organization. And what we want to do is see that more volunteers and staff members are exposed to what the power of this work, just a few minutes a day, and how it can change lives, and that owners begin to leave with their adopted animals with some tools that can help them make their homes more comfortable and their transitions easier. 2020 has been a tough year, but it's also created great opportunities to share this work via streaming platforms to people, not just in our local communities, but far and wide and around the globe. So it's a challenging time, but it's a great time. And Jinshin Jitsu can be brought to you via a YouTube channel or Zoom channel near you.
Thanks, guys. Over to you, Jennifer.
All right. Am I on yet? Can you all see me? Because I can't see myself. Okay, great. Hi, everybody. Well, you know, one thing that you can tell by listening to our group, we all came to Jinshin Jitsu from different directions, different ways, but the deep, deep internal passion we have for the art is within all of us. And so for me as well, I've been working with Jin Shinjitsu since 2003. And, you know, people just kind of stumble across Jin Shinjitsu. It's kind of the story of many of us. I had a family member who was very sick with cancer, and her oncologist had recommended Jin Shinjitsu as part of her care. And I watched this family member heal, and it was tremendously amazing. And at that same time, I was a caregiver for another family member through cancer. And here I am, I'm in Kentucky, just like Kelly Mount. We live about an hour away. We're good friends. We've been, you know, students together and comrades together. But I found a practitioner in Louisville for this family member, and not knowing what this thing was about touching the body and this and that, but it was open, and luckily my family member was too. I went and observed a session, and I watched this family member become completely different, become more of who she really was. Helped her with lots of the side effects of treatment. And then I took sessions too. And what I didn't realize is how stressed I was as a caregiver. So receiving Jin Shinjitsu in my body, feeling it, learning some of the self-help techniques, it really literally changed my entire life. And I decided to dedicate my life to Jin Shinjitsu. So I started studying. I became a practitioner in 2006, but I studied for 2 more years before I ever opened an office. So my office opened in 2008, just seeing people. I had people practice, but I'd always kind of play around with my animals. I hadn't heard of Adele yet. I didn't know what to do, but I'd kind of look at my book and look at my pets and sort of put my hands on them, just, you know, wondering, but not feeling confident. But then in 2011, my life really changed. And I listen with my heart. And I think that's what a lot of us as practitioners, and if you study Jin Shinjitsu for animals, we talk a lot about this connection, connecting with our clients, be they 4-legged or 2-legged. And I just heard this internal voice that talked about working in a medical center. And I ended up doing that. For 10 years, I was at a university medical center here in Kentucky. I worked within an NCI designated cancer center. I was all over the hospital and developed a Jin Shinjitsu program, not only for patients, but for nurses and doctors and staff and medical students and nursing students. So it was pretty extensive. I got to do a lot of bedside work with people, a lot of one-on-one training with Jin Shinjitsu self-help, where we learned to do this on our own body. And it gave me just this wide, vast amount of experience in learning how to offer this art to people in such a loving way and with different types of projects. Mary Burmeister called them projects. They're just a project, something we work through, not a diagnosis, not an illness. A project has a beginning and an end, and we move through. So working at the cancer center, I did a lot of things from palliative care. I did a lot of cancer, chemotherapy, radiation treatment. I worked a lot in substance abuse. I worked with infants in the NICU, and I did a lot of work with the animals. So how did that happen? Well, our program grew while it was there, and it developed into an integrative program. And we started animal-assisted therapy. And one of the things I started to notice as these wonderful dogs would come in and see the children and the adults in the different parts of the hospital is the trainers started talking about how their dogs, after a while, kind of got a little burnt out from seeing so many people, so many critically ill. And you know, if you've ever seen one of those dogs, they give their entire heart to their work. And that they get overloaded. They take on a lot. So I started teaching the owners little light touch things they could do to help their dogs unburden when they got home. And what do you know? They wanted to come back to the hospital. They would shift and change. And during this time, you know, I'd heard of Adele, and I went to my first classes in Louisville, and that was it. I loved it. But I was very, you know, involved in my people practice. So I didn't know that I'd be able to make this such a part of my life. Lots of things have changed, and I have just really gotten myself deeply entrenched into the animal work. I just love it. I still have a people practice. I'm no longer at the university, but I took all of that knowledge and I'm working with animals that way. So my specialties are things like chronic illness and recovery from surgery. I do a lot of palliative care, end of life work for animals of all shapes and sizes. And my practice so far, like everybody else, because of 2020 and the pandemic, has been a lot of online work. I'm not only teaching, but also one-on-one consulting with people with their animals present, and we can learn and work together. And it's the greatest thing. So my goal has always been, and my heart has always felt like my job in the Jin Shin Jyutsu world is to help expand Jin Shin Jyutsu outside of its boundaries. So that's what happened at the medical center. Everybody thought I was crazy, but you know, when you're called to do something, you just keep moving forward. For the animal work, my feeling is that my job as an instructor and as working with you and anyone you know is to send Jin Shin Jyutsu out into the world to help all the animals in need and all the owners in need too, who really want to help their pets, but they're not quite sure what to do. And they just need a little bit of confidence, because with Jin Shin Jyutsu, it's innate to us. It's in our being. As I tell people, you already know what to do. I'm just here to remind you. And most people notice that they're actually doing some of these things unconsciously. So our goal as instructors is to help you learn and grow and share. And also the other focus for me, like many in our group, is working with animals who've experienced trauma and are in rescues and things. And you know, we've had so many natural disasters, fires, hurricanes, tornadoes. And there's so many groups that are working with animals. And if they knew how some of these simple things they could do to help the animals and help their owners through the trauma, it would be amazing. And I think that I just am so grateful to Adele that she wanted to bring in a group of instructors to partner with her and work with her to share this beautiful work that she was called to do. And I'm just so glad that we were called to do it with you, Adele. So I'm looking forward to working with anyone and everyone. And we have so many wonderful, beautiful instructors who each of us have a little different way of expression, and that's the beauty of the art.
Well, so you can see why I love them, huh? I mean, what a group of people. So I think over the next month, years, decades, I'm hoping that this little bitty, rather obscure idea that started with one sick dog back in 1989 will spread largely with the love of these folks to all different places around the world. You'll be able to find their classes in the near future listed on my website, which is, funnily enough, jsjforyouranimal.com. Also, their events will be listed on the Facebook page, Jin Shin Jyutsu for Your Animal Companions. And you can always get in touch with me and I'll fill you in on where they are and what animals' lives are being changed because of them. So I thank you all for being here tonight. And I'm just thrilled to see where we're all going. Much love.